Hello everybody, you have tuned in to Eric Jose on Making a Murderer on YouTube. I cover virtually any aspect of making a murderer. I go over the evidence, the documents, the photos. So if you like, stay tuned, and in the future I'll have many more videos besides the one you're about to see. Today we're going to be here talking about, well, what else but the content on the Dassey computer. For those of you who have not seen the previous video where I talked about the content on the Dassey computer, the first time that Kathleen Zellner talked about the content on the Dassey computer, I went into a fair amount of detail about how disturbing what was found there was. So what I'm going to do is leave a link to that video down below. What remains to be seen is who in fact in court is proven to be the one that was there and able to access it at all the times when those particular things, you know, like I described in the other video, there's three particular things that are on that drive that are kind of like what I deemed a trifecta. You know, it was just the combination of three different things that were found there. Yeah, like I said, I called it a trifecta. So it was sufficiently concerning. And what we need to figure out now, and I know a lot of people, you know, already are decided on what's going on here, but from my experience, the way things play out in court, I'm not making any bold accusations at this point. I'm going to wait and see where the evidence goes. Hey, who else says that? I think I've heard Stephen Avery say that a few times. Yeah. So I'm going to wait and see where the evidence goes. But we can go ahead and talk about what's going on at the moment, of course, right? Which is this drive. Now, here's what's interesting about it. Number one, I already covered. It had some things on it that were of evidentiary value, despite what Kratz would have you think. And the content there is disturbing. And what's interesting is, because I read when Kathleen Zellner said that they didn't really have enough time to review the DVDs or whatever. Well, I'm going to show you a document here where it's a document from a lawyer from a firm that I guess processed these DVDs that Veely made, or made these DVDs from the CD or whatever. They were the ones sending it over to the defense as discovery. And so this letter is dated December 19th. Okay? December 19th of 2006. So you understand the implication right there, right? That means these DVDs were sent over right before Christmas. I mean, in the 5 to 6 days leading up to Christmas is when this, and then you got New Year's. All right? And guess when Denny was due? The deadline for the Denny was on the 8th of January. That means, and when you see this document I'm going to show you, it was filed with the court, with the clerk, you know, the clerk of the court on December 20th. So I imagine that they wrote the letter on the 19th, but then had to send it out, right? So Jerry may not have gotten it until the 20th or the 21st. Court got it on the 20th. Let's say Jerry got it on the 20th, right? So that means they had, well, you can't count the 8th because that was the day they were supposed to be in court, so you can't count that as a day to review because that's what the day you're supposed to be there and ready, you know, with your evidence. So that means they had 18 days because you had from the 20th to the 31st of October, I'm sorry, 20th to the 31st of December, and then 7 days in January. So that adds up to 18 days. Anybody remember how long it took Veely to compile all that information off of the hard drive and onto the CDs and DVDs or whatnot? 16 days. It took Veely 16 days to compile all of it and everything, right? And somehow the prosecution sends over these DVDs, and it says, it's, I mean, clear as day that they're sending them over on this day, on December 19th of 2006. And you know, basically they're giving them, I mean, this very little amount of time to review them when you got Christmas and New Year's and all the, you know, everything that goes around with the holidays, plus, you know, obviously Dean and Jerry are lawyers and had other, you know, responsibilities that they have to, you know, keep up. That means that they had 18 days to review DVDs that took Officer Veely 16 days to compile. And in that amount of time, they're supposed to be able to go not only go through that information, but process it and cross, you know, reference and figure out, you know, how it all fits together, and pick out what's significant about the certain times and certain, you know, whatever, because you're trying to figure out who it was using the computer at any given. And they're supposed to do all of this in only 18 days. So I'm going to show you the document now, and we'll come on back. All right, it's addressed here to Jerome Buting on December 19th of 2006 regarding the state of Wisconsin versus Stephen Avery. Dear Jerry, I enclosed 7 DVDs containing the copies of Brendan Dassey's hard drive. These DVDs are an archived copy of the hard drive and can only be viewed with encased version 4 or version 5. Any questions, please contact me. Sincerely, Hurley Burrish and Stanton, Siobhan M. Ryan. So, paralegal. So, what this is saying is these DVDs were sent over on December 19th of 2006, literally 18 days before Denny was due. Is it just, am I supposed to just believe it's a coincidence that Kratz and the prosecution sent this over so late and told Dean that there was nothing of evidentiary value on it? See, once the poop starts to get so deep, there's a reason. There's a reason why, and it's not just, you know, it's just not, you can't just deny it away, basically. So, anyway. Okay, so to further bring this kind of together here, we know that Kratz sent a letter or an email or whatever it was to Dean Strang saying that there was nothing of evidentiary value on the Dassey hard drive. Okay, before we get into whether they were hiding the CD and DVDs and playing games with that, first, let's start with just that statement alone. Am I supposed to believe that Ken Kratz, as a prosecutor, supposedly worth his salt, saw that what was on that computer and thought it couldn't possibly be connected to what happened to Teresa? First of all, for Ken Kratz to make that statement with what was on that with what was on the computer is dishonest and shows that he is trying to fly it under the radar. He is trying desperately to fly it under the radar. Now, I would also add, it took Veely, a guy who's experienced with computers, that's why they took it to him. He was a particular officer that was good with computers. Took him however much time to compile. I'm sure he's good at all the programs and everything that it was used for him to analyze and create these, you know, DVDs, these archived copies and all that stuff. I'm sure he was real fluent with all that stuff. Would Jerry and Dean have been? With Encase version 4 or 5? So, I mean, these are all things that add to the difficulty of the task. Okay? To review all that stuff in the time that they had, because the prosecution was handing it over so soon before the Denny deadline. And it just shows. And then for Tom Fassbender to take that CD, which would have been instantly viewable without having to get Encase and learn how to use that program, that CD goes into Tom Fassbender's personal custody. Like it was at home with his music CDs sitting on the shelf or something. I mean, it's just bizarre. The whole thing is bizarre. So there's a story here, and I think we're eventually going to start getting it here. So it's just going to be a matter of time. And like I was saying, to follow, you know, just wait and follow the evidence. That's really the main thing. But obviously Ken Kratz and Tom Fassbender were looking to hide this. They didn't want Dean and Jerry to see it. They didn't want Dean and Jerry to figure out that they could use it to rob the prosecution of their star witness or potentially rob the prosecution of their star witness, or maybe one of their star witnesses, because Mr. Taddock also did testify. So they looked at it as something that could rob them of one of their witnesses that places, you know, particularly Bobby, who places Teresa at the scene of the crime that day, because he says he saw her. And then, you know, but it would also put one or both of those gentlemen as suspects that could meet Denny. And that would have been something where the jury could have seen that there was more people than Stephen and Brendan that could have had the means, motive, and opportunity. Because when you think about it, folks, they didn't even have motive for Stephen. They were just acting as if, like, this, he at 40, almost 50 years old, he just suddenly decided he was becoming a serial killer, and it's this type of crime, because that's why they pitched it the way they did, as a sexually motivated crime. And just like, you know, obviously maybe even to try to build on the whole Penny Burnson thing for people that still believed Stephen did that, you know, because that, you know, not everybody's plugged in there, and some people, I think, there to this day in Wisconsin still think Stephen did that. But anyway, the interesting thing here is that, yes, what is on that computer was of concern, and the obvious attempts of Kratz and Fassbender to try and hide it, and in this case, handing it over and giving Dean and Jerry so little time during, I mean, 18 days during the holiday season, you know, 5 days before Christmas. You got Christmas, you got New Year's, and all that stuff, and that's this small amount of time, I think, is crucial, because, like I said, it would have taken time to go through it all and decipher it, really, for Dean and Jerry, because I guarantee you they weren't sending over Cliff Notes to help Dean and Jerry decipher it all, because that's why they didn't send the CD. That's why they sent the DVDs that needed the special program to be able to open them and go through them and this and that. I mean, just so many things. When you look at it from round and round and round, you just see so many aspects of it that just aren't right. Anyways, that's about it for this video, folks. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and we'll see you.